Well, good morning, folks. This is a Dear Kevin L. Walker live. I've had people try to share this on 51st State page up early this morning, still after effects of leaving Eastern Canada and being up real early. So I'm up extremely early in Alberta, early to bed too. But I want to do this. So I watched his video, and I believe he may be American. I'm not sure. But if he is, it's very important for Americans to understand some key things. So I'm going to start in reverse of the title of this video, and that's the 6 Indian courts of the United States. I call them Indian courts, the We the People district courts. They're actually the most powerful courts in the entire world. And why do I say that? Because they're the only courts, other than one other country in the world, that allow the American people at their core to take any American citizen to court. Quality of the person is very, very real in the United States of America. I spoke in a last video about how America has all checks and balances and power to the people at various levels. Well, in 6 district courts of the United States, that power exists for the American people. There is no American who can escape it. And if you haven't been paying attention, even President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was taken in those courts, in those district courts. You can't escape. Guilty or innocent, however that goes, it's up to the people who bring that to that court system. And they're Indian states. They come from the Iroquois Confederacy. That's Court of Iroquois Confederacy, created by the Iroquois. An amalgamation the Americans did as one of their checks and balances. It's not universal in all 50 states. These 6 district courts are represented in all the Indian states of the United States. What do I mean by that? Some of those states, upwards of 2/3 of their state, are Indian land, Indian reserves, separate yet equal nations inside one state. Yeah, and they have district courts for we the people. Not even the President of the United States can escape. And yes, they will try all crimes, including crimes against humanity, that are enshrined in not only the U.S. Constitution. There are protections limited for human rights, but absolutely all 50 states enshrine and protect human and civil rights, aka American civics, that most of the world doesn't have. So Kevin L. Walker is extremely wrong on many of the statements he makes in talking about taking Americans, 19 key individuals, to the ICJ, which is going to be the next on my list of as it really is. It's called the United Nations, not individuals. United Nations. The International Court of Justice, part and parcel of the UN Charter and all UN states, is only a court for state-to-state disputes, not individuals. However, some government individuals are brought forward in their crimes, legislated in their countries against international law created by pretty much the United States of America and the Russian Federation today, even through its Soviet Union era under communism. Those 2 countries have made almost all human and civil rights known to man to date, whether your country has it or not. And I guarantee you, out of the 193 nations, only 6 have upwards of what America has enshrined absolutely, and the Russian Federation. And remember, Russian Federation and USA are not all inclusive of each other. Some rights American states have, some rights oblasts have. They're not completely universal amongst the 2. And those are 2 federalisms based off Iroquois Confederacy, who invented that system. Absolute, undeniable. America now in mainstream not only reiterates that, has enshrined it in most recent documentaries. It's the opening of the latest series on the American Revolution, War of Independence. It's the first opening sequence. They delve into that. They show you the Longhouse, and they go right into the Iroquois Confederacy and what is from that to America and enshrined forever via the War of Independence, and every day since then, especially in the second Constitution, the longest running Constitution, 1787. All from that. ICJ only does state to state, and it's only if the state parties agree. It's not binding. It can't be forced on any participating state. It's a judgment made and then presented to the states as an advisory, what you should do. There is zero, I repeat, zero binding authority of the ICJ on any state in international law. What is only binding is the decisions of the United Nations Security Council and the resolutions the five must come up with together, or they're not binding on any state. Not binding on any state. Anyone telling you that they can go to that court, charge any American and bring Americans to justice, or frankly, any politicians worldwide, you're sadly mistaken. Only with the support of the state parties, aka the governments in charge. And again, I'm going to say this. No American under the Constitution of the United States can be brought to that court for any justice. None whatsoever. Individual P5 countries determine when and where they're going to summarily convict Americans. And they have. Russia has summarily convicted and executed Americans. The United States of America is summarily convicted and executed Russians. And guess what? They're not even the largest source of such things. France is the highest in the world for summary convictions and executing foreign nationals and leaders of countries with titles including president, prime minister, you name it, France has done it. UK as well too. China is actually the lowest on the list of summarily convicting people. Other than that, nobody else is able to utilize the International Court of Justice in any way on human rights. Zero, none. It's the resolutions from the United Nations Security Council, and you have to have penmanship, and you have to have a no veto, meaning that there's no vetoes enacted by any of the five. You also have to win the whole council, but if any of the five put forward a veto, nothing can be done against said state. Outside of USA, for example, declaring war, which is why you see the United States of America in the most wars out of any country in the world, especially after 1944. Because at the end of the day, it goes to Congress and Senate. It's all up to the United States and what they wish to do, and they're a veto power in the United Nations Security Council, and nobody can bring them to justice. Just like Russia with Ukraine. I've tried to explain this many, many times. There is no court that can take Russia to account. Russia's a United Nations Security Council member. You have to do them by force. And good luck with that. Good luck with that. I don't see America lined up at any doorstep ready to go toe-to-toe with Russia. And for good reason. Because the escalation of such a war would lead to nuclear devastation. Now, third, everybody, there's the Court of International Crimes, ICC, International Criminal Court, which is a court created outside of the ICJ by the UNSC 5 so that they don't have to use their veto so much. Excuse me. And it's not binding. Why? Because Russia's never, ever ratified it. Russia says, why would we need to? We're not going to. We don't want to join it. We're going to stay outside that. We'll work state to state, and we'll summarily convict people who fuck with us. And USA says, okay, we're going to do this with UK, France, and China, okay? And Russia said, fine, do it, but we're not going to be party to it. You don't have a binding court in the ICC. And if you've missed the latest with Israel and the Palestinians, how well does ICC work? How well does it work? It doesn't work very well at all. Not without full support of all 5 UNSC members, which again brings you back to the P5, United States, Russia, UK, France, and China. If a region wants independence, you go to the 5. That's how it works. No matter what people are trying to sell you, there's more Americans making more mistakes. No, a region of a country like a province in Canada or a registered governing territory in Canada's boundaries cannot unilaterally leave and join the United States. And no U.S. Congress and Senate or President of the United States will recognize such, because it's a violation not only of the USA Constitution, but many, many, many of the 50 states enabling acts that brought them into existence. And again, if you don't know this, look at Texas, because Texas can break up into 3 parts, technically 6 parts, through the clauses of the Enabling Act. And if such was the case for a state in the United Nations, again, drafted off the Constitution of the United States, meaning these are indivisible, these nations, with UN authority, and you think that you can break them apart legally on their own, you're wrong. It doesn't work like that. It goes to United Nations Security Council. Hence the platform I presented in 2019, Alberta, the UN landlocked nation. Because you need UN recognition. To get that, you need the 5 nations: USA, UK, France, China, and Russia. And you have to have 3 in penmanship and 2 sit on the fence, meaning they don't enact their veto. Very tall order indeed. It's been done 87 times in the world since 1945, since the UN Charter. And we've gone from 57 states prior to that in all world history to now 193, with 215 in total. That shows you how many haven't got their recognition or said independence, or are actually locked out. Some have walls, literally, UNSC walls. Again, if you missed it, go to Cyprus, the island, and it's walled off. There's an entire town completely walled off. The cars are all still there from the 70s. It was staging for UK and USA over Gaza and Israel. It was a staging ground there during this conflict that's still kind of going on. So, folks, that's reality. I don't know what to tell you. When Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, summarily convicts people worldwide, that's what he does. He can't do that to any American citizen. He can't arbitrarily, summarily execute and convict any Americans. He can't. He can pardon them. That's a presidential power. I always try to say the office of president is very weak. There's a movie I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's young Keanu Reeves, and I believe it's Keanu Reeves and Joe Pesci, and he's a bum, and he comes into prestigious, I think it's Princeton, and he says the president's a bum. That's true. That's true inside the United States of America. President is very small in their powers over all Americans. His executive authority is very, very weak for the American people. Hardly any authority over every living American. Americans have just as much power executively, individually, as President of the United States, because they're all equal citizens. That's truth. But the office and the division of powers outside of the boundaries of the United States, when President goes out on any UN state in the world, he turns into a Goliath, the Incredible Hulk. He turns green, he rips his shirt off, he becomes the most powerful American in the world on the world stage for everyone not American, not American. He goes from a mouse to the Incredible Hulk when dealing with any nation in the world. That is the powers bestowed upon that title defined in the United States Constitution, and he or she becomes the Incredible Hulk, capable of doing anything on any UN state in the entire world, no holds barred, and they are literally the Incredible Hulk or Godzilla or King Kong. Call it what you want. If President wants to be that, there's very little anybody in America or the world can do to stop the President of the United States. So when Americans or Canadians think that ICJ or ICC can affect any change on Americans, absolutely not. Zero, zip, zilch, impossible. You want to convict an American? It's you, the American people, who have all the power and authority in 6 district courts inside the United States. We, the people, if you want to learn about it, you want to gather your strength where you become from mouse to Incredible Hulk inside the United States to take down an equal citizen, including a president of the United States or any former or any politicians in America. You go to those Indian state district courts. New York, not one of those. In fact, New York is very, very Canadian in its district design, its state level design. All appointed, all corrupt. Hate to say that. And California isn't that way, just so everybody knows. May have other issues. At the district level, California is not one of those because they're out west. And they're enshrined in those Indian states. And they're lockstep. You can take California politicians to those Indian courts. Iroquois Confederated created We the People courts. Better Angels, a massive American group of all 50 states of the Union, regular Americans. If you're an American who wants to get to a politician and you think you have a case against an American politician and you want to bring him down, go to Better Angels, meet, learn your district courts in the Indian states. That's where they are. If you're a Canadian, you have no authority anywhere, nothing. You're a subject under a crown in a constitutional monarchy that does not bestow any of that on you. We did have We the People courts, and they were done away with long ago by the crown. We don't want any of this. When did that happen? That happened shortly after World War II. Why? Because of this new United Nations Security Council. Massive new American human and civil rights started to flood the world stage, and your crown said, to hell with that. These subjects and these Indian savages will have none of it. And from 1952 to 1976, that was the end of all We the People courts in Canada. summarily destroyed, transformed, changed forever. All highest courts of every province and the federal country, Superior, and then the Supreme Court of Canada, is all fused with the executive, appointed by the executive via Prime Minister through what? Governor General of Canada and Lieutenant Governors of the provinces, who are all appointed by Governor General on the advice and consent of Prime Minister, who can terminate Governor General anytime he or she wishes. You are in an electoral autocracy. Elect your dictator, your ultimate autocratic judge, jury, executioner, ultimate control of all laws passed and made in this country, in conjunction with premiers who are even worse. You want to know why? Executive Powers Acts of all provinces and territories, territorial commissioners they're called. So I'm sorry, folks saying that provinces can unilaterally succeed and then join the United States are incorrect. There is no process, there is no chance constitutionally inside the United States, any precedent or any legal ability for Congress to enact such. It's against the law, and it's been judged in many, many Supreme Court decisions. It's a part and parcel of many enabling acts that would wipe out the enabling acts that created many in fact, states of the Union we see today of the 50. Those stars aren't going anywhere, and nobody can unilaterally take any UN state, break it apart to leave that said UN state. There's no legal mechanism for that. And USA, by constitutional design, absolutely the federal constitution and all 50 state constitutions forbid them for that. We had a beautiful American patriot join us on X, and he said America will never get involved in stuff like that for Canada. Canada has to do it themselves. A veteran. And he was 100% correct. Maybe I should have magnified that, but it stuck with me last night. And of course, I'm doing this video today because a lot of even my followers are now following this Walker fella who's in complete error. He even tells you, he says he's a barrister from London, England. That's where he got his credentials. If that's true, I can tell you in Oxford, nobody with a bar from Oxford would ever tell you that they can do that in ICJ or ICC or in fact anything of American citizens, because it's illegal. And you want to get summarily convicted by detaining an American on such a cause in your country? Good luck with that. You want to see summarily convicted? That's when you'll see you registered as a terrorist and USA executing you. And if you don't believe it, there's massive logs of how many times Americans have done that. The average president in their term averages 1 to 2, so 1.5 summarily executions completed in their presidency. Trump's above the average now with the blowing up of vessels from cartels. He's now above the average president, but he's not the highest. He's not even remotely close to the highest. I'm just telling you the average of presidents. I'm not going to go into details on that. I did used to follow that years ago. I used to publish that somewhere on my timeline many years ago. You can look at the results of how many presidents of the P5 and prime ministers have summarily convicted people. And it's shocking, France, and just the scope of how many countries have summarily convicted and executed political leaders, elected or just arbitrarily put into power via force. But France has done that more than anybody else. Blows USA out of the water. That's my video. Important truth. It's a Dear Walker video. Choose to accept that reality. People who follow those narratives from this guy are completely incorrect, and you're going to find yourself in a real bad way with the United States of America, whatever your intentions, you want to get put on a list, especially all my Canadian friends and followers. If you want to get registered as a terrorist, because I promise you, Americans are immune to that. Remember about the mouse and the Incredible Hulk? President and actually all branches of government outside the judicial branch, and there's one executive authority, and that would be Homeland Security, but they still can't register Americans as terrorists groups and stuff like that unless they've gone out and done something for a foreign nation, registered as a foreign nation, and even then they'll be charged as a regular American would for crimes in regular court systems. But Canadians, you can be absolutely registered as a terrorist because you're not American. You have to be very careful if you're following Americans and the narratives they give, and they rope you into it while they're immune. You absolutely are not immune, and you can and will be registered as a terrorist if you start talking or advancing ideas, lunatic ideas of taking American politicians to human rights courts where you're going to convict them. And if you don't believe me, just look at what's happened to those who've tried that with the United States of America. Get your bank accounts frozen, get your life destroyed by the United States machine. And that's the Incredible Hulk president of the United States, where once they're outside of America looking at every UN state, they have the most incredible powers, superpowers in fact. And you as a Canadian, you will be brought down, you will be crushed miserably. And I give that, everybody should know that. This is a very, very critical and important video. Share, get it out to everybody you know. Save as many as you can. When you follow these false narratives and you start getting into the cockamamie and crazy that some Americans are in, well, they're immune. You're not. You absolutely are not. And America and American legal politicians in power today can bring you down to your knees and crush you to dust. And I promise you, Mark Carney could care less. Canada has never bailed out Canadians anywhere, not the third world and certainly not America. So if you think you're safe, you're not. You're absolutely not. Never fuck with America. FAFO. Figure it out. This is crucial information for everybody. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.